a champion of a light-bearing god, the cleric clutches his tome, borrowed within his breast, drowned in transcribed wisdom of ancient tongues and forgotten minds spilled from the generations of ink and splintered quills crossed between hands lost to time. Elric, one of several clerics across history, is seen in the presence of tear-filled men and women across the world, pleading for something transcending help. They want gifts, miracles, that the local priests pray for in their sorrowful hearts. Elric, reflecting on his last miracle before the gate to the Chamber of Dissonance, reminds him bitterly about a home lost to time, the hall, his salvation, and his curse. The tip of his tongue almost blurted out the name. His blessings shook the synapses in his brain. His jaws jittered at the veil awaiting him. Elric could only bite his lip to remember that he was still alive, pain being an unfortunate reminder of what was to come next, and that his god, in spite of all, would be with him. In a faint embrace, before the encroaching darkness of the hell's infinite layers sprouted into existence upon the entry, crossing from solace to damnation. Elric feels the blood and veins ripple, his brain recoiling, shaking violently in between the inner conflict rattling in him, before the real fighting would even begin. Like the halls of before, it starts deathly quiet. The lair is asleep, and the beasts and demons slowly but surely materialize and buzz like annoying insects across the candlelit arena. The cleric steels himself, going beyond the awareness of silk and linen robes, a thin layer protecting the man from the sting of hell. The beast, masking in a cacophony of red-soaked tiles with patterns to guide the demonic lords and their minions to the banquet of bone and flesh that is promised. The cleric's lord has guided him a number of times. His martial prowess is his own. The horn heads plastered on the walls supported by the infinite pillars laugh at him eternally, frozen in time while the goats, cultists, cubes, and imp-like creatures dance to the hall's tune. The cleric can only lend a hand with divine casts and bruised movements. The halls of Torment powers the chosen champions and equally disseminates pain. The cleric thought of the other heroes, walking across the realms that they had lost, bound to the halls for painful glory, every death feeling like a lucid dream. Elric knew vividly and violently what these monsters could do, what power and uncanny energy that the lords of the halls were born with. His holy scepter and his unconditional love for the profane god became barriers to the memories of his caved face, teeth splintering into particles littered like the stars in the sky over a long clear night. Elric, remembering these painful memories, fights fanatically in fear of its return, fire like the light in his holy scepter, smiting the hordes with increasingly ferocious power and primal brutality that would make the Norsemen rile in jealousy. The Chamber of Dissonance screams for the holy man's blood, to make his remains a boon for its master, and if it's generous, an opportunity for nourishment for its depraved lords. Elric's pride was growing back in spades, delighted in the honoring of his own god, to rid and cleanse the ancient evil dwelling in this realm. Flurries of violent and blissful energy, the array of boons and powers coupling the onslaught gleaming in front of the beast's eyes. One by one, 10 by many, and many more, the devastation of the cleric's ferocity and prowess escapes their wretched souls as they die and break apart from their pocket universe, sailing adrift as they spit out their excuses to the lordly entities awaiting the final call before the hordes tire themselves out. I, Elric, cleric of the profane god, cast my disdain through his word, his power my shepherd, thus is your doom. He shouts thrillingly, forgetting in his boast the traumas the halls of Torment impose day and night between the layered realms. The continuous carnage leaves goats with shattered horns, slime bubbling in agony, demonic constructs and other malevolent shapes experience wanton violence across their cracked and battered geometric shapes. His mind chitters with hatred and scorn, his body moves with the mentality of an enraged barbarian, the scepter singing with the will of the profane god and his will, corrupting the hellspawn with a flame that bites and licks the poisoned flesh of everything that it touches. This goes on for minutes, which feels like eternity. Elric moves with amazing speed, equipment and bounty, inching the man closer to godliness. It becomes an ecstasy of its own, a drug of its own making. Elric begins feeling the heat and the atmosphere of the hall magnetizing, where the beast in a new form of clothing decides to purge its lair once and for all after all the carnage is said and done by the ravenous priest. Suddenly, Elric's final test forms, a 12-foot tall muscular assembly of leathery skin, united by scar tissue and surgical precision, forming by bodies of many who fell before it, all forming together to mock the cleric's shape with its own, human-like, with eyes surfacing and squinting to their own rhythms. "What is this?" cried out the confused and dazed cleric, gripping his scepter with self-imposed assurance. "You are not the Void Caller?" Elric snarled at the grotesquerie of mountainous flesh. The monster's arms join together and reveal a large flamberge appropriated by its size and desire. This was unusual, even for the cleric. Many times these heroes, like many before him, had come here, struggling to conquer the many halls and the lords residing with callous delight. Something was wrong. The usual array of champions and their bosses in tow would appear. The cleric expected the usual order of business, to get lost in the chaos with his god within his soul. Only this time, a new and strange foe appeared in this hall. The 12-foot monster charged with unexpected haste, Elric only just barely escaping the pathetic flail of the monster's victim's arms, countless more thrash in their confined space, looking for the man's soul, all having an innate desire to tear it out. The monster's other bodily parts were all moving in a myriad of chaotic motion while it swung its giant sword, its flames roaring with excitement as the promise of carnal pleasure is within reach. Elric, missing the grace of the archer's speed and her beautiful swiftness, despite all the growing power within him during this crusade in the hall, feels the blade slice through him, followed by a song of blood, bone and muscle all departing. The arm collapses to the floor lifelessly. Elric cries out with a scream for all to hear. The monster gives no pause, the mouths of many grinning with broken teeth, bubble with bloody saliva as the monster wastes no time hugging the cleric in a warm and bone-crushing embrace. Where had my god went? What happened to my strength before? Elric thought hopelessly. The divine prowess was cruelly contrasted by the knot in Elric's bloody stomach, as his innards and bodily shape contorts with the overwhelming weight and mass that the monster produces, proving too much for the chosen cleric of the halls. The monster with all of its might flails the nearly dying cleric, with him nose-diving into the floor that shares countless bodily fluids and masses of corpses as a result of the bloody carnage that Elric had enjoyed so much. The halls begin to dimly fade out. The monster walks away, slowly dragging itself as it lulls itself to slumber. The chamber of dissonance falls silent, for only the deathly silence to return as before, and a fallen hero to rise again in the foreboding and oddly calm campfire where the heroes meet. Elric would return to life once more, as is the nature of the halls of Torment, every memory and sensation returning with him like it never left. Many times over, the heroes would meet and share their glories, their mistakes, what lords and halls that waited to be conquered, all with their own personal mission and destinies aligning. But Elric was alone. Strangely alone. No well-keeper or cupbearer, no wandering soul to support the holy champion of the profane god. Elric scanned the campsite, with only the halls and the fire to greet him. Refusing to be shaken by this, he sits down by the fire once more. He continues to believe that the heroes are on their way back, but then he notices that the chest is also gone, as are the other objects to guide and strengthen them on their journey. Are they coming back to camp, he wonders nervously. Are they coming to this camp, he emphasizes in a vain attempt to rationalize the increasing realization of his plight. The hall remains open, waiting for its victim, gleaming and glistening with energy beyond his grasp. Elric assures himself that he can fight wherever his god needs him. But is this where his god needed him to be? To dance with the halls until the spirit gives up? He returns to the memories of miracles, where his calling could give hope, but his hope had betrayed him, biting him with the truth in all of its fiery and marbled imagery. He had finally remembered his last miracle with more clarity than the death he experienced before. The miracle of a hidden and deeply buried desire for his own chamber, his own hall to come to life, wrapping him in a blanket of glory and death forever, where his god would always be at his side.